So themes this year that are emerging, what are the biggest issues on the minds of European leaders?
Well, I think what hangs over this entire conference really is the degree of uncertainty about U.S. support. At the end of the day, the Europeans have come through. The EU, as you know, just approved 50 billion euros in additional funding. That will take them to way over the two to every $1 that already has been provided. European countries individually have each been doing a great deal as well. And the big question is, when will the assistance be coming from the United States? We've had reassurances from members of Congress who are here, been on stage today and so forth. But of course, there's no date certain. And there's a real concern that Ukraine could begin to run out of, for example, air defense interceptors or artillery. It's already rationing artillery, reportedly. President Zelensky made a very, very powerful and compelling case for the need to get this decision and to get on with the assistance that is so crucial from the United States, which after all is the most important contributor at the end of the day.
Possibly candidate-elect, maybe, we'll see, Trump, made some comments about NATO on the campaign trail recently. Have those comments about NATO been reverberating through Munich this week?
Sure, they have, without question. It does raise, again, concerns. Look, there's always been criticism of European countries for not spending enough on defense. Ironically, all of a sudden you're seeing them do that. So the Secretary General of NATO noted that 18 out of 31 countries will make the 2% of GDP this year. The German Chancellor committed to the same on stage, and that's huge because, of course, that's the #4 economy in the world, and they were below 1.5% of GDP on defense prior to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So the Europeans have very much been stepping up to the plate. Certainly always want to see them do more. But the question now is, will the U.S. follow suit? And again, my hope is, everyone's hope here, I think, is that that will be forthcoming as soon as is absolutely possible, understanding the domestic politics, the political campaign season, and all the rest of that.
Alexei Navalny, what's the word there? We heard that his wife spoke yesterday.
She did, to gasp really from the audience as she took the stage and explained that she was doing what he would have done. Initially, she was inclined to go immediately to her children, also to try to confirm, is this actually true? Yeah. But then she said, he would have gotten on stage, and that's what I'm going to do on his behalf. So a reminder really of what a mafia state Vladimir Putin presides over in Russia. If there was any doubt whatsoever about the brutality of this individual, that should be completely gone at this point in time.
What are your key takeaways for action out of this conference in particular?
I think it comes back again to the how quickly the U.S. can commit to the additional $60 billion of various forms of assistance, noting, of course, as has been explained here and in the United States, the vast majority of that is actually spent in the United States with U.S. companies, both to replenish our own ammunition stockpiles and then, of course, to provide some of that to Ukraine. But I think that's the big issue. There's a variety of other smaller issues, if you will. Obviously, there's been discussion of the ongoing situation in Gaza, situation in the greater Middle East. In fact, I met with the Prime Minister of Iraq yesterday to discuss the challenges that he has with the Shia-supported militia that are provoking our counterattacks by their attacks on us. But at the end of the day here, the Munich Security Conference, for all of its greater global focus, still is about NATO and the security of NATO nations, and the big threat is Russia. And there's no illusion that Russia would stop in Ukraine. There's keen awareness that Vladimir Putin would go on to Moldova, to Lithuania, others of the Baltic states. And so there is a seriousness of purpose about this, I think, that is very palpable. And so it does come back to the big question hanging over this, which is about U.S. support.
And final question, because I know you've got to rush here, but the Ukrainians have just lost another town to Russia, who they've decided to pull troops out instead of sort of lead them into to lose more potential men and women who are fighting. How significant is that
Well, it's significant. I don't think it's hugely significant. The Russians have lost a colossal number of soldiers, expended enormous rounds of ammunition. They've essentially destroyed Avdiivka, which is the town over which they've been fighting. It's been clear for a while, I think, that this was probably going to have to happen. It was the right move to make. It's a tactical achievement by Russia, not a strategic one. But Russia does have, if you will, the strategic initiative, at least on the ground. But of course, keep in mind Ukraine's achievements in the Black Sea, which President Zelensky described for everyone today, recalling that their maritime drones have forced the Russians to withdraw from the important port of Sevastopol in occupied Crimea for the first time in a couple of centuries. And they've largely made it possible for their ships to get grain out through the Western Black Sea, from which they've largely pushed the bulk of the Black Sea fleet, having destroyed at least 1/3 of the ships of that fleet. And keeping in mind that because of the convention about the straits controlled by Turkey, you can't bring additional warships into the Black Sea. So these are largely irreplaceable for Russia. So that's a very significant achievement. We do sometimes overlook that, but it doesn't in any way, again, assuage concerns about what's going on the ground, where once again, the U.S. support, continued U.S. support, is absolutely critical.